Okay, it's official. We're ready to begin. All right, greetings and welcome to the December 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Mecklenburg County Economic Development Committee. I am Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I have the pleasure of serving as chair of this committee. Okay, so if anyone would like electronic copies of any presentation materials today, please make these requests via email to Megan Witt. Her email address is megan.witt@mecnc.gov. All right, so we will begin today's meeting by introducing those of us in the room here at the Government Center. And so I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, starting on my right.
Mark Terrell, District 4.
All right. Okay.
Laura Meyer, District 5.
Lee Altman, County Commissioner, serving at large.
All right. And again, I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell, elected by the people of District 6. And so now we're going to go to our staff, starting with our Deputy County Manager.
Good afternoon, Leslie Johnson, Deputy County Manager.
Roger Johnson, Economic Development Director.
Clay Andrews, Economic Development.
Shahid Rana, Economic Development.
Keisha Whitley, Economic Development.
Megan Witt.
Economic Development.
Agustin Velasquez, Economic Development.
All right, great. Is there anyone online?
We do have some folks online. We have Todd DeLong with the Charlotte Economic Development Office, Timely Transportation, Janelle Rosales with Mecklenburg County Economic Development, Sarah Kirby, and Brett Clampett with Public Information.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So now I will entertain a motion to approve the November 19th, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion was made by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Altman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Jarrell?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So that is unanimous, and we have an echo. Okay. Today's meeting is a little unusual in that we're going to start out with a closed session item before we move back into open session. So I will now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion is made by Commissioner Meyer and seconded by Commissioner Altman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that is unanimous. So we are going to be in closed session as soon as we can lock down.
Thanks.
Okay. Is it just this one piece of business that remains? Yes.
We were able to do this.
Let me see how things shake out.
Yeah.
I need to.
And Arthur's good on there, by the way. He's good on audit.
We saw the Queen's president is leaving.
What?
Queen's University president.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Why?
It sounds like he's been there a while. No, he hasn't.
He
been
hasn't
there a
been there
while.
because when we
He just got there
started,
in 2019.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
because he was barely there when I met him for the first time in
Oh,
his
he's
office.
going to a Connecticut college.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. I remember you had me meet him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in the interest of time, I want to go ahead and get started with the next part of our meeting. So the Providence Square project came before us at the October 15th Economic Development Committee meeting. Since then, staff has been in negotiation with the Providence Square team, and staff continues their due diligence for project feasibility and financial impact on the county. So you all have a copy of the presentation in front of you, and now the Providence Square team will provide a brief update for us this afternoon. They're not going to go through the full presentation because we've all met with them individually. but we're going to learn about what updates there are. So I now will turn this over to the Providence Square team. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my name's Jeff Brown. I'm with Morven Allen. Our colleagues are very pleased to be assisting Levine Properties and Northwood Raven on the revitalization and on the TIG project. And again, thanks so much for this time today to provide just again the brief update. With me are Daniel Molino, President of Levine Properties, Daniel Levine, Chairman of Levine Properties, and Mike Wilson, who's Senior Director and General Counsel of Northwood Raven. We will keep this tight. We're just going to have one slide to review with you and focus on some of the enhancements we think have come about. I did want to once again thank Dr. Johnson, Leslie and her team, Roger, Shaw, Bert. We really appreciate not only their works in the past, their patience and some of our constraints with our calendar, being able to come before you today, all those things we are very appreciative. We also understand that the staff's assessment and their analysis using the REMI model and otherwise, the recommendation would normally be a part of the process before the committee would take action. And we totally get that. And we thank them for allowing us to come in and just give you a brief update. We know that'll take place now in January, along with the committee's recommendation, as well as the board's final action. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. I did just want to mention as just a FYI, the city workforce and jobs economic development committee met yesterday, and the 5 members of that committee did recommend unanimously for it to move forward to Charlotte City Council. We expect that to hopefully take place next Monday. And then our zoning would be later on December 16th. But again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here today and look to the county consideration in January. Again, we're going to just really review this slide and really in yellow some highlights of some of the changes, but just as a reminder of some of the key fundamentals, and then we're happy to answer any questions. Daniel, I'll let you take
Sure.
that.
Thank you. Good to be with you again. So this slide again demonstrates our view of an overview of the community benefits, and again supporting the Parks and Rec with the land donation for parkland, the contributions for activation, and the construction of the Greenway Bridge to connect the McAlpine Greenway into the mixed-use district and allow access for the surrounding neighborhoods and developments. One additional piece as we've kind of worked through and an enhancement in discussions with the staff was a discussion of the potential ability to activate some portions of the lower landscape buffer towards the south portion of the site. We have some constraints regarding the zoning and landscape buffering and such related to the neighborhood, but we discussed ways to work together in good faith to continue to activate that piece of it along the multi-use path. In addition, we've talked about the housing and the importance of supporting the city and county housing goals. Initially, we were focused and had included 108 workforce housing units in the proposal. After again discussions with staff and understanding the importance of the housing piece, we've shifted 8 of those units from 80% AMI units to be 60% AMI units, further recognizing the need to address housing. In addition to that, the developers have agreed to make a $500,000 contribution to city and county housing initiatives. The exact destination of that to be determined in working with both the city and the county as to where that can do the most and have the most impact. In addition, we've continued to work with the CBI folks in understanding the scope of the project and the different components of it for purposes of the MWSBE target goals. We had initially focused on minimum targets of 15%. We've now increased those based on our discussions with CBI and their targets to targets of between 20 and 23%. So those are the updates and sort of enhancements that have come out of the staff discussions. I did also want to point out, as part of the project, just as the last bullet point, the sustainability and environmental goals. One of the other things we've discussed is the potential for utilizing a gray water system for irrigation, other sustainability goals in connection with the underground utility infrastructure. So those are really the enhancements. And again, thank you to staff and for a lot of communication and back and forth collaboration to get us to this point.
All right, great. So based on what has been shared, I would like to check with the committee and ask the committee members if they have any questions, comments, thoughts they'd like to share, any concerns at this time. Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you. And I just want to point out, this is in my district, and I've been in that complex many times before it got demolished. And it was a blight. And I used to get so many emails about mold and, everything else that was going on in there. So this is a really good thing that's happening, not only to my district, but to the whole community. And I support this 100%. I love how they have worked with Park and Rec, and they are listening. They have covered a wide range of our priorities, and I just really appreciate their work on this. And I know they need approval, and we're going to be a little late with it. And so what I want to ask staff, and including Dr. Johnson, what is your take on this? Because I know we need to run the numbers, and Remy, and you need to feel good about that. So what is your take on this?
I'll try to address that, Commissioner. I will share with you that part of the work that we do on your behalf is to make sure when we bring a project to you, you have 100% confidence in the financials and the feasibility of this project being done. As it relates to the terms that you see on there, we have been negotiating your priorities and feel like we have reached a reasonable agreement on the terms that are associated with there. What we have yet to complete is the financial analysis, which assures us that the project will come to fruition. And we do that based off of experience that we've had historically. Sometimes when a project looks like it's going to pencil out on paper and it doesn't, a project gets half built in that particular community and it becomes a problem for the community. So we want to make sure the project is financially feasible. And that includes just basic questions such as, are they charging a reasonable amount of rent? For example, if they were to charge $5,000 or $6,000 for rent based off a market rate, that project would never fill up and never be successful. We wouldn't be able to say to you, we're ready for this project to move forward based off of our understanding of the market. We wouldn't want us to create a worse situation in a community than is already there. We have yet to complete that analysis, particularly as it relates to the REMI, which makes sure that you don't give away more money that exceeds what the general taxpayers pay. We'd like the opportunity to do that. And two, we just want to make sure the project has a financial feasibility that makes it reasonably assured that it will be complete and be successful. I'll give you an example that happened to me in a different community where we didn't do this work, which I was not on the project. It was the city of Charlottesville, not Albemarle County. But now they have an empty hotel in the middle of their downtown area because things changed and now it's rat infested. It is a homeless shelter. It's caused problems for those downtown businesses. So we have a responsibility to make sure these projects are financially feasible so we don't have unintended consequences in our community. We have yet to do that. We have been working with this particular group to get some financial information for a multitude of reasons, holidays and others. We've not been able to complete that analysis. So we can't give you a recommendation other than to say those terms seem reasonable to us.
Okay. Well, and I 100% understand everything you're saying. And this is taxpayer money, and I get that, and I think they understand that too. So you will not commit to you can't commit to it. at this point at all?
Well, personally, we would be doing you a disservice by
Okay.
committing to something
Okay.
without doing, I'm just going to call it for lack of a better term, before you buy a car, you want to inspect it.
Okay.
We want to inspect the car.
Okay.
We don't expect there to be problems. We expect it to go forward in a manner. We wouldn't have it here today if we thought otherwise, but we've yet to do that due diligence.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Commissioner Darrell, would you like to go next?
So Roger, that makes complete sense. I mean, that's just the way we've done business, and I appreciate the team just understanding that. It's just the way we're going to do business. But I want to go to this framework because it's really important to point this out. Commissioner Meyer touched on it. This checks so many boxes with respect to our priorities. Not even having the REMI model. I mean, I've supported it when it got first presented. It actually got better. So kudos to staff and to the team for, continuing that dialogue to get it to where it is, to what we see. I think the MWBE targets increasing is super important to the board. The contribution to the housing initiatives, the sustainability. I mean, there's so many boxes that are checked that I just think, on its face, I'm super, super excited and supportive. The one thing that I would ask our colleagues, obviously, so for me, obviously seeing the REMI model, I'm a qualified yes all day, no question about it. This has been negotiated for how long, Roger?
This came to us roughly 5 months ago, probably in concept through the representative, Councilor Brown. The negotiation started in earnest prior to the October 15th meeting for probably about a month.
So one of the things that has happened historically, we go to the full board and then there's a whole upheaval of other requests and things of that nature. And I'm just saying from a committee standpoint, I mean, we've negotiated. I mean, I'm sure our colleagues will have great thoughts and comments and things of that nature. But I think we're going to have to, if others are at a qualified yes as well, I think it's important for us to kind of level set with people about the negotiations that have taken place. And let's be somewhat reasonable in what some of those subsequent asks may be within the framework that's been presented.
Commissioner Drew, I failed to mention just how the team of Providence Square has been negotiating in good faith, trying to find a yes for the community. You see some of the enhancements that were discussed today. And so I just failed to mention those in my remarks. And I just wanted to concur to say that, yeah, they've been a good partner so far.
And I appreciate it. And I look forward to our colleagues, providing additional thoughts and perspectives that maybe the committee didn't see. But I also think, this is one of the best deals that I've seen in 6 years personally. So thank you.
All right. Commissioner Altman?
Thank you. I want the public to understand that the way this was talked about in the media today was that the county is paying incentives. And just to be clear on the chronology of how a tax incentive grant, increment grant works, the developer creates new value that doesn't exist. I drove out to this property over the weekend and it is indeed very blighted. Okay. It's not generating any tax or very little tax revenue, much under whatever it's capable of. And it's certainly not serving the community in any constructive way. So a developer comes in and invests money to create something that doesn't exist. The county government is able to tax that value. And only if that value comes through the front door, which is verified on a yearly basis by our team, do we then essentially refund in a previously agreed upon portion of the taxes. And in exchange, they are creating tremendous benefits in the categories, not only of revenue, increased revenue for the public to fund public projects across all of our departments. But these particular developers are creating great enhancements around park and recreation, affordable housing, greater MWSBE opportunities for our residents and other sustainability and environmental goals. So I just want to make sure those who are listening and reporting are very clear with the community about what this is. And I do appreciate you being, we can do so much more when we are in partnership with people who are operating in good faith to maximize public benefit. We can do so much more to benefit the community when government is able to partner with great folks. So I am very appreciative to you. 100% will never sign off on something until our full due diligence is completed. That is how we do business. However, I also am a conditional yes pending that review.
All right, thank you. So what I am looking to hear is how much the rents are expected to be on these properties. In our conversation, we talked about what is the range. We know the affordable units are, the 8 units are at 60%, which is new. I'm grateful to hear that. But the 100 affordable units are at 80%. So my question is the other units, because there's almost 2,000 units here with the combined project. The vast majority are going to be at market rate. How do you define market rate, and at what AMI are we talking about? In our conversation, we talked about 100% AMI to 120. Actually, it was 80, 100, 120 was the range. And so I would really need to hear those rents so I can really verify that. And if we're looking at 100% area median income, like what number are we using? And then 30% of that is what I would expect the rents to be. And so I hope that represents the conversation that we had. You guys are kind of nodding yes. So I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding anything.
Yeah. So I'm Mike Wilson with Northwood Raven. We're a market rate developer. Typically, I mean, it depends on your cost of borrowing, obviously, and the amount that you pay for the land. But, we believe that most of our residents are in that range from 80% AMI to 120% AMI. You have the police, fire, teachers. That's our wheelhouse. In particular, in this area of town, we think that's a strategic play to capture that market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I just wanted to kind of make sure that everybody's aware that the property as it appears now is not what the property was before it was demolished for new development. So those, in my view, please correct me if I'm wrong, those may have been considered naturally occurring affordable housing because they were older units. They might not have been in the best of shape, but there were a large number of people living there at a lower income bracket. And that seems fairly a true statement, correct?
That is true.
Okay, great. And then I noticed that in the presentation, we're talking about the Horizon site, that's the Enlivian site. Okay, and that has 49 affordable units and it's going up to 75. And the range is 30 to 80%. Does anyone know the breakdown? I know it's not really relevant. It's included in the presentation, so it's somewhat relevant, but just for an overall picture of what this area is going to be. If staff, while you're coming back with your due diligence, it sure would be awesome to know when you come back to us, if we can get the intentions for those units. It would be great.
We'll check with Horizon on that and have that information ready.
Thank you. That'd be fantastic. So I really also would just love to know the $500,000 that is going to, that was the Northwood Raven contribution to affordable housing. How many units would that represent if that were like you're donating 500 for us to put it somewhere else? How many units would that be? Like 1 unit or like 1.2 units or something in this sort of development, in one of these buildings?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I know that we are not specialists on affordable housing, the 30%, 50, 40% AMI. And so as a company, we wanted to make a commitment to let the experts and be guided also by your committee and the city on where we could have the greatest impact with that.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is I'm just wondering, where does the number come from? Like, how do we arrive at $500,000 being the number?
In council, we thought that was enough to move the needle. But I can't tell you per door or per bedroom what that would do. We thought it would make a significant impact.
Okay.
I may add a little bit to that, if I may.
Sure.
What I think we've seen often is that some of the projects that come through, whether it's the trust fund or other housing funds, are looking for a gap filler.
Right.
And so what may appear to be, for the number of units, a relatively small compared to millions of dollars, can often be the difference when you cobble together other sources between being able to get the project done or not. So I do think there's a lot of different ways of looking at those types of dollars and how they're impact. But we thank you for your question, because I know we want it to be impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of have a reference for that number, like,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Staff has been working directly with the City of Charlotte staff on this particular project. And we have been working with LaShonda Hart, our housing expert, who's been working with Walter. We had hoped to have defined where that $500,000 would go, and whether it was a single joint project between the city and the county to have the greatest ROI on the community, or whether it was to go into two separate housing funds. That's part of the additional due diligence that we have yet to complete as a result of us having this fast-tracked meeting today. But I suspect by the time we get back to the board in January, we will have ironed out not only where and how and what impact that $500,000 may have.
Oh, okay, fantastic. All right. And so lastly, I wanted to ask about, because I know we're going to get questions about the green space in this project. So 4.4 acre park land donation. So that is a full-on donation from the Levine side. 2.9 million is the estimated value. And then in addition to that, a $1 million contribution to activating the 4.4 acres. So the rest of whatever it would take to activate or develop that park into whatever it's going to be as far as Park and Rec is concerned would come from the county, from our county budget. Leslie, is that correct? Okay. And then the Greenway Bridge is not being donated. The 2.5 million that it would take is an estimate of what further county dollars would take to create the bridge.
The 2.9 is the estimate that we have put behind by Park and Rec's capital planning team to build the bridge. So we are confirming and verify to build the bridge is roughly 2.9 million.
And is that already allocated somewhere, or that's a future?
So it would
number?
be allocated from the tax increment grant. So as
Okay.
Commissioner Altman noted, when the property is developed,
Mhm.
then we can be able to reimburse the developer based on that delta that will occur from the new appraised value of the property. And we
Right.
will, so when you see that the request is of a tax incentive of 12 point whatever million, we're hoping that the property value changes to that delta, which is why we do the financial analysis to confirm that it will shift to that amount that's being requested,
Mhm.
and then we will pay for that development from that.
Okay, so they're going to build the bridge, and then it'll be reimbursed through those through the TIG.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the same case with the trail improvements, which is estimated at 3.25.
Yes.
Okay, so those are two separate numbers. I just
So,
wanted to make sure
yeah.
it's not one total.
There are two components to that trail, just to clarify. One is the multi-use path,
Okay.
which is the 12-foot wide paved multi-use path, which is what connects into the greenway
Mhm.
down in the park, that comes all the way up into the mixed-use development and connects at International Drive across into the Northwood Raven and in Livian. The park, just to clarify that, is the 4.4 is divided between approximately 3/4 of an acre on, sorry, Jeff, you're on that side. 3.65 3.65 acres on the Levine site and 0.75 acres on the Northwood Raven site that abuts the Enlivian site. And then on the trail side, so the estimate for the multi-use path is approximately $3 million.
Okay.
The other $250,000 is to enhance what is an existing drainage easement path through the reserve apartments, which Jeff is showing now, and connect that into the park, the newly created park at the bottom of the property. So it's two components creating two different pathways to get from the park and the greenway up into the mixed use development.
Great.
And I just noticed my eye was looking at the wrong thing. The estimated bridge estimate is 2.5. The 2.9 is for the park donation. So I stand
Oh,
corrected
okay.
there. That's just looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. All right, well, thank you very much. And lastly, the 20 to 23% on the MWSBE targets are, we're happy with those numbers. So what I would like to ask the committee to do is to take a vote with the contingency that the Providence Square team will come back to the full board with a financial analysis and all project details after the new year with a notice of intent to approve. So,
Modification to what you
Sure.
read or whatever. The county will come back. So I think what you're trying to do is get a contingent vote to move to the full board. Or you're trying to advance this to the full board contingent
right.
on the economic development team verifying the financials associated with the project.
What you said.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Actually, before you move, can we tweak the language to explicitly say satisfying their, our standards for the REMI model, or somehow saying that we're,
That's fair.
okay, so,
moved on that one.
Do we need to have it
that we can
stated?
take a vote contingent upon our standards under our REMI analysis being satisfied. Is that okay, everybody?
Does that sound?
May I add one other variable for you to consider?
Please.
There's the REMI model,
It's the
which
financial
makes certain that you're not dipping into the general taxpayer dollars to fund this project. Like you said, we're using the future tax payments. We're making sure the expenses don't exceed the benefits. The second part of that is the financial feasibility of the project to make sure we believe that it will be carried out to a successful outcome in the future. So if you're willing to accept not only the REMI model, but also a feasibility study, that would better satisfy staff's recommendation.
That sounds great. So
Along
moved.
with the other things that we asked for, like the rents, and is that part of,
That would
which
be
part
part
would
of
that fall in?
Yeah, it would be the financial feasibility. We just want to make sure that in this market, the project has a reasonable chance of being successful, to make sure that we're part of a project that reflects highly on the elected officials in the county.
Okay. All right. So, motion made by Commissioner Altman, seconded by Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so that is unanimous.
Can I make one more?
Sure.
Just for public record, this complex or whatever was owned by an investment firm, correct, in another state, and which would explain why they didn't really care about what was happening to their property. Can you talk to us about what kind of owners you will be, what kind of landlords you will be?
Sure. So our company, Levine Properties, celebrated our 40th year in business locally. I am from a family that came to Charlotte in the mid-50s. I was born in 1961 here in Charlotte. Went through Rama Road, McClintock, graduated from East Meck, Chapel Hill, and came back and started this company 40 years ago. And we while we have invested and developed in properties outside of Charlotte, our primary focus is on Charlotte today. And we have really a long history of building multifamily, office, retail, industrial. And for the most part, our strategy is to build great properties, own and manage great properties for the long-term ownership. And so we take a little more pride and care in building assets that will stand the test of time. We have been blessed with having worked with the county before in working with Leslie to deliver First Ward Park to the center city. And am proud of the way that park has taken its place within the center city. It's held up very well over time. It's taken on its own kind of personality as a gathering spot for community voice, which I think is great. And so we're planning to build this project, put it into our portfolio and manage it over the long haul. And so we will, just by way of reference, I lived across the street for 25 years, so I know this area very well. But I think our family has demonstrated a long-term commitment to this community, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you.
I want to recognize that our colleague Commissioner Powell has joined us. I asked her to come as soon as she was able to help give us her lens on especially the Park and Rec goals that are included in this project, and she hasn't had much time to review it. But
No, I was in another really important meeting, so I'm sorry I'm late.
no, we're grateful that you were able to come for a few minutes, but we will get your thoughts on this moving forward.
Okay.
So, so with that, I'm going to, this concludes all of the items on our agenda for today, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's anyone has any more comments, questions, or concerns.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We
Thanks
got
for
out in
coming.
time. We didn't go over. We're early.
Thank you for coming again. Thank you.
My husband said, I think that was his last hurrah.